It was so painful after we broke up. It was the biggest heartbreak of my life. And I honestly felt like I was gonna die.
The truth was, we took our time, we made the decision, we didn't want to show, we grew apart, we had a marriage that didn't work. This happens.
But I never felt heartbroken until we called off that wedding. You know what I mean? It was really devastating to me.
At 53, Matt Damon drops shocking news about Ben Affleck. After much public fascination and nonstop rumors, Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have declared their marriage over, exactly 2 years after a wedding that seemed like a perfect fairy tale. Their revived love had once again thrust them into the limelight, where they showcased their happiness for all to see, cruising in a Bentley and basking in the camera flashes. But could their display of happiness hide deeper troubles? Before we go on, get ready. There's more to Ben Affleck's story than you think, and some surprises might shock you. Bennifer 2.0. The couple, who found their way back to each other in 2021, captured everyone's imagination with what seemed like a storybook return to love. But now, this dream has crumbled. What many saw as a beautiful reconciliation has dramatically changed course. Ben Affleck, known for his colorful and often complicated love life, is once again at the center of a dramatic turn of events. His past, filled with high-profile romances and constant media attention, seems to have come back, affecting the current state of his life with Lopez. What happens next with Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez is so surprising and dark, it could change everything we thought we knew about them. To understand why this sudden change happened, it helps to look at Affleck's history. His relationships over the years have often shown patterns that are hard to miss. His early days in Hollywood set the stage for what was to come. Back in 1997, after the success of the film Good Will Hunting, Affleck, along with his friend Matt Damon, shot to fame. Their success not only earned them an Oscar, but also brought them into the exclusive circles of Hollywood's elite. At one of these exclusive gatherings, hosted by Harvey Weinstein, Affleck met Gwyneth Paltrow. She had just ended her relationship with Brad Pitt and was open about her regrets, saying that her own immaturity had played a big role in their breakup. This honesty about her past was in sharp contrast to the relationship that would later develop between her and Affleck. At first, things seemed promising between them. After being cast together in the movie Shakespeare in Love, their romance went public. However, their relationship was marked by many ups and downs. Over the next few years, their on and off status became regular news, with brief reunions, such as during the filming of Bounce. By the year 2000, their relationship was over. Paltrow spoke openly about how tough the breakup was for her. Unlike her reflective comments about her time with Pitt, she was less forgiving when speaking about Affleck. On Howard Stern's show, she mentioned that while Affleck could make her laugh, their time together was filled with constant conflicts and challenges. She suggested that Affleck wasn't ready for a serious relationship, a recurring theme in his romantic life. But this wasn't the only sign of trouble. Paltrow hinted at deeper issues, suggesting that sometimes people try to work through childhood conflicts in their adult relationships. She implied that her time with Affleck was an example of this pattern. Affleck responded defensively in an interview on Good Morning America, suggesting that Paltrow's ideal partner would be someone like her father. This comment hinted at underlying tensions, especially considering that her parents were not very fond of him. Gwyneth Paltrow did not take Ben Affleck's comment quietly. She quickly fired back, saying his ideal woman would be a bikini-clad waitress serving cold beers. This sharp exchange showed the tension in their relationship and hinted at Affleck's tendency to be distracted by other interests. As time went on, more signs pointed to this. Ben Affleck seemed to have a way of causing trouble in his relationships. Paltrow and her friends. In 2016, Paltrow shared a story about hosting an event with celebrity chef Mario Batali while she was dating Affleck. Batali, who had been very fond of Brad Pitt, did not feel the same way about Affleck. This lack of warmth showed a clear disapproval and hinted that many people around Paltrow were doubtful about Affleck as a good partner. This skepticism painted a picture of a pattern in Affleck's love life, unstable and often insincere. Jennifer Garner, another of Affleck's exes, supported this view. She once described him as a complicated person, saying he could be very warm and attentive when he was focused on you, but could also turn very cold and distant when his attention shifted. This description seemed to match what many other women who had been with Affleck experienced, showing a man who could bring both light and shadow into his relationships. The story of Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, often called Bennifer, followed a similar path. They first met on the set of the movie Giggly, when Lopez was still married to Chris Judd. In a 2003 interview, Affleck shared that their relationship started as a close friendship while they were working together, with no romance at first because Lopez was still married. But this friendship soon became something more. After Lopez filed for divorce from Judd in July 2002, her relationship with Affleck quickly grew stronger. That summer, the sparks between Lopez and Affleck were clear during a birthday event for her, and they officially began dating. By November 2002, when Lopez released her famous song, Jenny from the Block, news of their engagement spread quickly. The music video for the song, featuring Affleck, became very popular, especially for the scene on a yacht where Affleck was seen kissing Lopez's backside, a moment that became a big part of pop culture. But this wasn't the only time things went wrong. Their engagement was marked by a 6-carat pink diamond ring from Harry Winston, as reported by People magazine, but their happiness did not last long. The movie Giggly failed at the box office, and this seemed to mirror problems in their relationship. Just days before their planned wedding in September 2003, they postponed it, blaming the intense media attention. Things had gotten so bad that they even thought about using decoys at different locations to confuse the paparazzi. But this wasn't the worst part. By January 2004, their relationship had ended, with the constant media attention being a major factor. This issue of public scrutiny would come back again when they got back together nearly 20 years later. Even after they announced their re-engagement, it became clear that the media was still very much in their lives, leading to a point where Lopez had to ask for privacy during a difficult time. From 2004 to 2021, Lopez and Affleck went their separate ways. Lopez married singer Marc Anthony, whom she had dated before. They had twins in 2008, but this marriage also ended in 2011, with the divorce finalized in 2014. Meanwhile, Affleck continued his pattern of relationships, often with co-stars. This showed a recurring theme in his life where work and romance often mixed, leading to intense love stories that usually ended publicly and painfully. Next, let's see how Affleck's troubled past influenced his next big relationship. From co-stars to co-parents. When Ben Affleck began dating Jennifer Garner, their story grew from being co-stars to becoming spouses, and later co-parents. They first met while filming Pearl Harbor in the year 2000. At that time, Garner played a nurse and Affleck was a heroic pilot. Garner was still married to Scott Foley, her co-star from the show Felicity. They met again in 2003 on the set of Daredevil, where their friendship deepened. Even though both were involved with other people, Garner with Foley and Affleck with Jennifer Lopez, their bond grew stronger over time. Their connection eventually led them into a deeper relationship, a marriage, and after 10 years together, a decision to separate. Garner once described Affleck as her ideal man, tall, dark, and handsome. They got engaged quietly during Garner's 33rd birthday, and for a while they kept their relationship out of the spotlight. They tried to live a normal life aside from occasional public appearances like attending Red Sox games. Shortly after their engagement, they got married and soon welcomed their first child, a daughter named Violet. The birth was kept private with only a brief statement that mother and child were doing well. Garner had accidentally revealed they were expecting a girl during a TV interview, but the couple embraced their new roles as parents with joy. Friends often spoke about how their love seemed to grow stronger with the birth of their children. But this wasn't the worst part. Despite their seemingly perfect life, the couple faced many challenges. Right after their 10th wedding anniversary, they announced their decision to separate. They made it clear that they wanted to handle the split with grace, focusing on co-parenting their children and keeping things private. The sudden announcement left many people surprised, and it was the only public statement they made about their decision to part ways. After their separation, Garner and Affleck managed to keep a good co-parenting relationship. They even took a family vacation to the Bahamas shortly after announcing their split. Photos from the trip showed them spending time with their children, both together and separately. Garner later shared in an interview that they remained supportive of each other, holding on to their shared past, which only they truly understood. This deep history made their continued connection inevitable. However, this wasn't the end of their challenges. Affleck's personal struggles soon became public. After their divorce was finalized, he completed a stay in rehab and publicly thanked Garner for her support during this difficult time. In a heartfelt post, he talked about his battle with alcoholism and his commitment to becoming a better father. He made it clear that his recovery depended heavily on the support of his loved ones, especially Garner. Their divorce was officially filed in 2017, with both seeking joint custody of their children. This ended years of speculation about whether they might get back together. Even during this period, they continued to live under the same roof at times, went on family vacations, and shared parenting duties. These actions blurred the lines of their separation until the paperwork was finalized. But this wasn't the last of the tough moments. In 2018, Affleck had a relapse and once again turned to Garner for help. She drove him to a treatment center, showing that he recognized his need for help quickly and still relied on her. During this time, Garner had the difficult task of explaining Affleck's condition to their children, making sure they understood what was happening in a way that made sense for their age. Garner's role went far beyond just offering support. She was key in creating a stable environment for their children and managing the public side of Affleck's recovery. This was not easy, but it was vital for keeping their family steady and supporting Affleck's health. The finalization of their divorce in October 2018, 3 years after their initial separation, marked the end of a long and complicated chapter in their lives. It was a chapter filled with respect and a shared commitment to their children's well-being and happiness. Now, let's find out how Affleck's old habits impacted his efforts to rebuild and maintain love. The burden of fame. Ben Affleck faced a lot of backlash for some comments he made about his marriage to Jennifer Garner. During an interview on The Howard Stern Show, he spoke very openly about how his marriage troubles affected his battle with alcohol. He said that if he were still married to Garner, he might still be drinking because he felt trapped. He even went as far as to say that he drank to escape because he didn't want to leave his marriage due to their children. Many people were upset by these remarks because it sounded like he was blaming his drinking on his relationship. He also talked about how their marriage was falling apart, even though they loved and respected each other. They tried to stay together mainly for their children, but eventually realized that staying married wasn't the best example for their kids. His blunt way of explaining things surprised many people, and some felt he lacked empathy, which seemed to be a recurring issue in his relationships. Even after he tried to clarify his comments following the backlash, the damage was already done, and his reputation suffered. After his divorce, he quickly moved on to another relationship with Ana de Armas, his co-star in the movie Deep Water. The film, ironically about a troubled marriage, seemed to mirror the drama that would unfold in their own lives. They became very close, were often seen together, and shared many personal moments on social media. Their relationship moved quickly, and they celebrated de Armas's birthday together. Not long after, she moved in with him. But this wasn't the only problem. The relationship ended just a month after de Armas moved in. Some reports suggested that living together so soon put too much pressure on their relationship, leading to its end. This seemed to follow a familiar pattern in his love life: intense beginnings followed by sudden endings. The official reason given was that de Armas did not want to continue living in Los Angeles, but the quick breakup after moving in hinted at deeper problems. The way the breakup was handled didn't help. Soon after, there were pictures of his children playing with a life-size cutout of de Armas, which was later seen being thrown out in public. Many people saw this as a very messy way to handle the situation, showing once again that he had trouble with commitment. Instead of facing the issues, his relationships often seemed to end suddenly. But this wasn't the worst part. This pattern of relationships ending quickly wasn't new for him. Even his brother, Casey Affleck, commented on the split with de Armas, saying that both of them would probably be okay and move on without much trouble. He mentioned how the stress of the pandemic had added pressure on relationships, but also hinted that they might reconsider their decision to break up. Not long after his breakup with de Armas, he found himself back with Jennifer Lopez. Their rekindled romance, known as Bennifer 2.0, was a surprise to many people. He seemed very determined to win her back, reassuring her through emails that he was serious about making things work this time. Their relationship was in the spotlight again, with them going on romantic trips and Lopez talking about how happy they were in interviews. When he proposed to her again, it was in a very intimate way, while she was in her favorite spot, the bathtub. The engagement ring had a rare green diamond, which was meant to symbolize luck and positivity, a nod to some of her famous fashion moments and their shared past. They married in a private ceremony in Las Vegas, followed by a big celebration in Georgia. But just like before, the media attention from their first romance seemed to return, and he found himself struggling with the public focus once again. But this wasn't the end of the story. Despite his efforts to keep their relationship private, he also encouraged her to revisit old songs that talked about their past together, which seemed to go against his wish for privacy. He took part in public events and promotions that included their relationship, sending mixed signals about how private he wanted things to be. This inconsistency added pressure to their relationship, especially as Lopez worked on a documentary that included their personal messages. The public sharing of their private moments became too much for him, causing more tension. They found it difficult to balance their public and private lives, showing that the challenges they faced in their relationship were far from over. Ben Affleck's unpredictable behavior played a big role in the problems between him and Jennifer Garner. At times, he tried hard to please her, but he also hated the public attention their relationship got. His mixed signals left Garner in a tough spot, trying to handle her career while dealing with a partner who was becoming more distant. Even though he said he wanted privacy, he agreed to be part of a documentary and an album that brought even more attention. Maybe he wanted to support Garner and make her happy, but it was clear he was uncomfortable with all the media focus. In the documentary, he talked about his struggle, comparing it to marrying a boat captain and then complaining about the sea. This showed how much he struggled with the public side of their relationship, a struggle that eventually reached a point he couldn't handle. This inner conflict led to growing resentment toward Garner, who was trying hard to keep their marriage steady. She even got matching tattoos with him as a sign of their bond on their first Valentine's Day as a married couple. But this wasn't the worst part. Their marriage started to fall apart because they couldn't find a balance between staying private and living in the public eye. Garner stayed hopeful and committed, but the pressure from their differences became too much. The love that had once brought them together became their biggest obstacle, leading to the end of Bennifer 2.0. Even though they officially separated in April 2024, they continued to act like they were still together for a few more months. In the weeks before their quiet breakup, they were seen showing affection during outings in March and looking for houses together in New York City. After celebrating Easter together in Brooklyn, he went back to California to film The Accountant 2, while she spent most of her time in New York. During this time, the cracks in their marriage began to show. They were not photographed together for over a month. Just days before their breakup became public, she met with his close friend and business partner, Matt Damon, and his wife. As things got worse, he missed several important events for her in May, including the premiere of her Netflix movie Atlas and the Met Gala, where she was a co-chair. A friend of his explained that he doesn't like the Met Gala and finds it uncomfortable. His friend suggested that if he attended in a bad mood, it could have drawn negative attention, just like his grumpy appearance at the 2023 Grammys. Interestingly, he did attend the Met Gala back in 2021, but had not returned since then. One might think that supporting his wife at such a big event would be important, but his absence was especially disappointing given the tough year she was having. She faced the failure of her first studio album in 10 years, 2 movies about her life, and had to cancel several shows on her tour due to low interest. She even had to change her tour to focus on her greatest hits. But this wasn't the only disappointment. Even though she needed his support, she attended the Met Gala alone. It seemed like he wasn't willing to be there for her when she needed him most. This was hard for her, especially since she had always stood by him, even helping him reintegrate into family life after their first breakup. When they got married again in July 2022, they had focused on making their blended family a priority. She had put a lot of effort into becoming part of his family, even getting attention for attending events with his children. He shares 3 children with his ex-wife, Jennifer Garner, while she has twins with her ex-husband, Mark Anthony. Since getting back together, they were often seen with their children at family outings, showing their commitment to keeping a united family front. But this wasn't the last of their problems. After their split, he found comfort in spending time with his family, leaving her out. He was seen having fun with his children and ex-wife in Connecticut, just before his daughter Violet was set to start college. Even though they are no longer together, he and she have managed to co-parent peacefully, which is rare for celebrities. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe to join the conversation and share your thoughts.